In our previous video, we successfully created a friends icon. Now, what we want to do in this video is to create a refresh icon. If you're familiar with how refresh icons look like, then you'll know they typically come in the shape of two arrows that seem to be chasing each other around a circle. Just as an example, if you look at the create symbol option on your toolbar, you'll see that the icon has two arrows that seem to be chasing each other, and that's what I'm talking about. And just as an additional example, if you look at the rotate option on your toolbar, it's more or less the same thing. So at this point, we have the tools and knowledge necessary to create these on our own. So just as a mini challenge, I'd like you to put the video on pause and to give this challenge a go. So at this point, just put the video on pause, try to create the refresh icon, and even if you get stuck, I will show you after the break. So give it a go now. Okay, so I trust that you've tried to create the refresh icon. So let me show you how I've done it. So I'm going to start with the oval. So I've tapped O on my keyboard, and I'm going to hold down on Shift and then drag out the oval. Let's make it 300 by 300. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this oval. So I have one oval on top of the other because I've just tapped on Command D. And then to enable me to see the oval that's on top, I'm going to change its fill to black. And we can always confirm that it's the oval on top from the layers panel. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this black oval, but I'm going to do so proportionally and from the center. So I'm going to hold on Alt and Shift, and then I'm going to drag down to scale it down, and I'm going to aim for about 200. So now what I want to do is to remove this new black oval from the gray oval. And to do this, I'm going to make use of the subtract Boolean operation. So I'm going to select both of these circles and then apply the subtract Boolean operation to create the hollow center that you now see. Now I'm going to take out the rectangle, and I'm going to apply this rectangle on the sides of this circle, and the one that I've just created is 140 by 140. Then I'm going to duplicate this rectangle and put it onto the side, and so I have these two. Now I want to combine all these new layers that I've created into one so that this whole thing becomes one layer, and well, perhaps as you've probably guessed, then I'm going to apply the union Boolean operation. So let me select all these layers and apply the union Boolean operation. So now what I want to do is to create a gap in between here. So to do this, I'm going to take out a rectangle. Let's start by making it about 3 pixels in height. And then I'm going to change its color to black. Just make it a bit longer. The actual length doesn't actually matter. And then I'm going to center it somewhat into the middle. But what I want to do is to get these points somewhat halved. So I don't want this to be exactly 3 pixels. I want this to be 2 pixels, but with these parts halved. So I'm just going to slightly adjust until I get half a pixel there and perhaps half a pixel there. And then I'm going to position him here. Let's just see if they're even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's 6.5. So it's perfectly in the center of this layer that I have here. So now I'm going to select this black rectangle layer that I've created and the layer that we've been working on from prior, and then I'm going to select the subtract Boolean operation, and then that removes that from the center. So we now have this shape, and now what we want to do is to enter into vector mode so that we can delete some points. Now Despite the fact that this is one layer, if you do remember from previous videos, we still have access to the individual sublayers, which actually exist here. So we want to create the points on the rectangle, so I'm just going to double tap on the rectangle, and now I still have access to the 4 individual points that make this up. So if you know a bit of geometry, you know that anything that has 4 points would make up a square or a rectangle. But anything that has 3 points would have to make up a triangle, and that's exactly what we want to do. So to create this triangle, which would represent the arrow, we're simply going to delete this point. So just make sure that this point is selected, and we're going to hit on the backspace, and then that automatically creates a rectangle like that. Now we're going to do the same thing with the rectangle that we have here. We're going to double click on it until we can see the different points in vector mode, and then we're going to select this point and then delete it. And then by now you should have a fully complete refresh icon. And if you want to give it a bit more style, then you could rotate it using the transform attribute in your attributes inspector, and there we have. So that concludes how to create a refresh icon.